Some major news for the 40k app today. Looks like the 3 days of the Battleforge section are numbered, though index reference looks like it's here to stay. Let's talk about the 40k app and whether it's looking worth it. Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics, where today I thought we'd just take a quick video to cover the updates to the Warhammer 40k app. There have been a few interesting things for it over the last couple of days, a bunch of minor quality of life updates that does make the thing a whole load more usable, at least in my opinion, but also Games Workshop now have set out a little bit more clearly what the paywall is going to consist of, and what features you can and can't expect for free. So far I'd say that Games Workshop's official Warhammer 40k app has done a massive amount better compared with the 9th edition one. A month or so after launch, and it's got around about 4.1 star on the Android App Store, compared with the rather hilariously low 2.2 that the previous 40k app for 9th edition had. That thing was broken in all sorts of ways on launch and was missing lots of features like the Battleforge, and then even when they did arrive they kind of worked questionably well and had left a lot of things to be desired. The newer 40k app for 10th edition basically does two things: a quick reference for rules, both in terms of army index rules and the core rule set for Warhammer 40k. I'd argue that it does work really quite nicely for that purpose, fairly fast to search, and one of the faster ways to get your hands on the information. And then of course its Battleforge section, a functioning army builder that does genuinely work as a rival to things like Battlescribe. Still definitely has its own teething issues and annoyances, but has maybe been a bit easier for them to implement in 10th edition given the super simplistic point system that their previous app often struggled with, particularly for more complex units. It's definitely not perfect, but they have made a few quality of life updates to it in the latest patch, and fingers crossed they'll continue with that trend. Currently in 10th edition the app's been in a free trial period, Games Workshop giving everyone access to it for a bit, though they did say that certain features will be paywalled further down the line. We've now got a bit more details to that and the updates. Probably the biggest things today are that it's mainly the Battleforge section that's going to be paywalled, though there is going to be a different element of that for codexes further on. Though for some reason in their article they didn't decide to talk about the features that they'd improved, maybe a little bit unlike Games Workshop not to tell us when there's some good news. First up, I thought we'd talk about the app improvements, and it looks like these came out at the same time as the rules errata for the index cards came out, all updated in one update, a whole bunch of new things on the profiles of units that people spotted a fair bit before they actually released the official download document. But as well as just rules changes, it had a little bit of change in functionality to the app itself. It seems like they've had time to address a few of the most annoying things for the app. One of the most basic things was that you couldn't edit the detachment type or the name of your detachment. Say if you selected a Blood Angel Sons of Sanguinius detachment, you wouldn't be able to rename the name that you'd given it, and you wouldn't be able to swap to a Gladius detachment if you liked those rules better. And that did seem like a super simple thing for them to implement, and now they have. Another of perhaps one of the biggest complaints was that you can't really reference the rules very easily when you're army building. You had to click through quite a few menus to get to the actual datasheet for the unit that you were trying to add into the army. Whereas now if you add the unit to your force you can view the data card directly from that and then go straight back to it, so that is kind of nice. A bit of a basic if you're trying to do everything just from the app. And otherwise, in the rules reference section, if you're trying to find the index section for just the army that you want, they have mercifully reorganized the list a little bit. It's no longer going index, then combat patrol, then index, then combat patrol. You have the indexes first and then the combat patrols. For perhaps the most common criticisms online, there still are some pretty annoying things for the Battleforge. At the moment you can't create duplicates of rosters. I think that would be quite a nice quality of life thing to have if you just want to duplicate the models in the collection that you have, and then just maybe make a few tweaks, perhaps sub out one unit for another that you wanted to experiment with, or change some enhancements around. I think that would be quite a nice feature. The yellow triangle to say that your unit's incorrectly set up is helpful in pointing you to the right unit, but doesn't tell you specifically what's wrong in that unit. It can be a little bit obtuse that, seeing as you have to equip things like close combat weapons and other stuff that the models come with absolutely by default. So that one can be a bit of a pain, even if it's pretty clear what you meant when you tried to equip the unit. And also I find it a little bit annoying that when you add extra models to a squad, it doesn't change the default war gear options that they have. So say if you added more Necron warriors into a warrior squad, they wouldn't automatically be equipped with their close combat weapon and one of the guns. You'd have to add both of those in manually. I feel like if they were going for more improvements for the app, these would be some of the major features that I think people would like to see improvement on. But it seems like a fairly positive step. They've already made some fairly major updates to the app that make it a lot more easy to use for quality of life. Maybe they'll make progress on the rest of them. For the data card reference, I still think maybe they have a bit of overuse of the collapsible menus to actually find the weapons and stats that they need. It kind of works, but you need to know where you're looking for the certain rules. And it does sound like Legends rules aren't going to be added to the app at any stage, which is kind of relevant if people want to play with those. Looks like you'd still be working with the PDF downloads there, and you wouldn't be able to add them to the Battleforge. Definitely one of the downsides where the Legends units sort of feel like they're half supported, I suppose. I have seen it discussed that they're posted on social media at some stage to say that Legends rules wouldn't be on the app, though I haven't seen that independently myself. Generally speaking, the Battleforge I think is a little bit better than it was before, though it's certainly going to get a lot more expensive for a lot of people if they still want to use it, as they say that it's going behind the Warhammer Plus paywall from the 28th of August. That means if you were using the Battleforge quite a lot and you didn't have any Warhammer Plus subscription, there'd be about a month left of using that for free before having to either choose whether you want to subscribe to Warhammer Plus to keep on using it, or use an alternative like Battlescribe. I think it is almost certainly something that's just going to turn off a whole load of casual users, people who play Warhammer, but it isn't the only thing that they do. I feel like for a lot of people, forking out a Warhammer Plus subscription for a year of either £5 per month or £50 per year, or $6 and $60 if you live in the USA, that's almost certainly not going to be worth it for an army builder alone. Realistically, if you're forking out that amount of money, you'd want to be getting value from the other features of the Warhammer Plus subscription. Say if you really wanted to see the animations and battle reports and things as soon as they came out. And I guess if you subscribe for the year, you do get the subscription miniature included, though it might not really be a miniature that you particularly wanted or care about all that much. Out of the two that they've had so far, I feel like the Vindicator Assassin on its ruined statuary was a lot more popular than the World Eater's Terminator, though obviously everyone's individual tastes will be different. I think it is kind of bad news, and I'm not sure it's really the best move for them, to be honest. The Battleforge really does work quite well, but at that kind of price it's going to be something that's just not really usable for a whole load of more casual players, where it seems like it's something that's absolutely designed to make getting into Warhammer and building army lists as easy as possible, and in this age of 10th edition where they're trying to encourage loads of people into the game, it feels like it might have been a good tactical choice to keep free, even if it does have one less incentive to get you to subscribe to Warhammer Plus or whatever. It seems, at least for the moment, the index reference rules are not being paywalled, so it seems that if you mainly use the app for that section of gaming and just looking up rules and things, then you won't be too affected by it. Though it's maybe not too surprising that that's remaining free, seeing as you can download all the index PDFs for free anyway at the moment. Perhaps the biggest question at the moment is just how much of that will get paywalled once the codexes come out. From what Games Workshop had said previously, it sounds like they'll still have a system of codex unlock codes, where you put in the code from the codex and that allows you to access the data on the app. So at the very least, it sounds like for factions that do have their codex updated, like Space Marines and Tyranids first, you at least won't be able to access the absolute full rules for the army if you don't have the codex and the code put into the app. I think last time they had some basic rules like datasheet things, but didn't have the more advanced things like, say, warlord traits and relics and things like that in 9th edition. I kind of wonder if they might do similar in 10th edition, have the basic unit rules available for free, but for slightly more advanced things like detachments and datasheets and stratagems and things like that, you might well have to have the codex access code. I kind of wonder how they're going to handle that for the Battleforge. Seems like you'd have to make really quite a big commitment both to have the subscription and to have the codex for each army that you wanted to build an army of. I guess most armies that people collect as their main army they probably will have the codex for, but could have less value for them if, say, you were picking up codexes second hand or something. In any case, I'd certainly bear in mind that for the army builder at least, the Battleforge isn't the only option. You could certainly consider using the third-party version Battlescribe. That one's far more established, given that it was basically seen as the default option versus the 40k app over 9th edition than previously. I would say that the interface maybe isn't quite as simple and straightforward as the Warhammer 40k app's one, but it does have a lot more advantages and irons out a few of the issues that we talked about with the Battleforge earlier. After the 28th of August, it sounds like it's going to be a fair bit cheaper to at least try Battlescribe. You can download the app for free and get a $3 subscription to remove adverts. That's a fairly tiny $3 per year as opposed to £5 per month or $6 per month that you'd have for the Warhammer Plus one. So provided you can deal with the interface and the way it exports things and everything, I think it's well worth a look if you're looking for an alternative and you are new to 40k. The updates can lag a little bit behind Games Workshop's updates, as it's maintained by a volunteer community team, but it does look like the update for 10th edition is out now, so the vast majority of units and points will be accurate. Let me know what you make of the changes though. Will you still be using the Warhammer 40k app once the Battleforge gets paywalled behind Warhammer Plus? And how would you rate the army building experience of it versus Battlescribe? If you enjoyed the updates and you'd like to keep on seeing new ones, then feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics, or I'll certainly keep the regular 40k videos coming. I do tend to post new ones just about every day. Finally, if you have been enjoying all the videos on the channel, I would just like to mention that Auspex Tactics does have a Patreon page as well, and that's the main way that I keep videos coming quite so regularly. If you are enjoying, any support is enormously appreciated. Channel patrons do get a few advantages: seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things come next on the channel, and automatic entry into the regular prize giveaways with a chance to win some big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good, or you'd just like to help support, the link is down in the video description. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.